Hello everyone. In our previous discussion, we talked about floods and what factors can lead to flooding. The next thing I want to cover was some strategies that are currently in place to prevent or help reduce flooding. You might have seen some of these strategies in your daily lives, but let's go ahead and delve into them in a little bit more detail. As we previously mentioned, constructing in floodplains is not the best idea, and by avoiding areas that are prone to flooding, it can reduce the risk of flood damage. There are approaches in place that have restrictive zoning ordinances to reduce such occurrences. Typically, land that is prone to floods are not typically developed and might be used for livestock or other purposes. However, that is not always the case because there may be outside pressure to further develop upon these areas, such as in urban cities. In these scenarios, it is important to design structures with flooding in mind. One such way that this is done is by placing buildings on stilts to raise the structure off the ground so the lowest floor is above the expected flood stage. This type of design helps minimize the impact of a flood, even though it is ideal to not build in these areas. However, these types of designs have not always been utilized. Floodplain zones are relatively new, and the associated practices do not apply to areas that were built prior to this. In these scenarios, it can be costly but beneficial to move entire towns out of these floodplains to avoid later catastrophes. A common strategy that is employed are used are retention ponds. These ponds help reduce flood hazards by acting as a large basin to trap and store runoff and keep it from entering immediately into the stream. Modification to the actual stream channel itself is known as channelization. This could involve widening the channel or deepening it as well. However, keep in mind, this is a tedious process because it is important to not alter the stream too much to limit the impact it has downstream or elsewhere. One example of a negative impact of channelization was done in 1910 to Missouri's Blackwater River, which was dredged and enlarged. This caused a change in the stream's discharge and resulted in stream bank erosion and increased flooding. Channelization is not a one-time fix and requires constant attention and upkeep. Some other negative effects of channelization can cause wetlands to be drained. Fish may have poor adaptability to the stream flow pattern, stream bank habitat can be affected, increased flooding downstream can occur, and many other results. As we can see, some modifications to streams can have negative impact. This can also happen when building levees, which are raised banks to prevent overflow of a river. Levees can be natural and are sometimes formed by the river itself by sedimentation deposits from previous floods. In some cases, these natural levees may be expanded to help reduce overflow. This is also an ancient technique that has been used for thousands of years. However, the biggest drawback to building these levees is that it can increase the stream discharge and increase flooding downstream. Lastly, some other methods that have been implemented to stop flooding are dam and reservoirs, but these also have negative impacts on the ecosystem as well. As you might be seeing, some of these efforts to stop flooding can have serious impacts on the ecosystem which need to be considered. It is often the job of the civil and environmental engineers to help mitigate these issues and ensure that the risk of the environment is minimal. Until next time, thank you and have a wonderful day.
1, 2, 3.